Good morning, everyone. This is Kat coming to you from home today. I thought I would make a coffee this morning and talk a little bit about mental health, both before and while on the trail. The first thing I wanted to talk about is how I'm feeling pre-AT through hike. So right now it's early February. I have about a month to go before I start my attempt of the Appalachian Trail through hike. So while I'm definitely really excited and ready to get going, gear-wise and preparation-wise, I'm still feeling a good amount of self-doubt, which I think is probably natural for people starting out this type of a journey or starting the AT itself. There's a lot that goes into the planning. You do a lot of research, but you can really not know what's gonna happen when you get out there. It is sort of like going into the unknown. So as someone with a type A personality, that freaks me out a little bit. And I'm trying to just kind of deal with that, just remind myself it's the anticipation, it's the pain of waiting to get to Amicalola and start the hike. So, definitely working with my sister, my friends, my family, to just kind of keep my spirits up while I wait, just making sure I'm saying kind of those last goodbyes, having dinner with everyone that I can before I go, just making sure that I'm keeping in touch with the people important to me in my life. I'm also, of course, staying really busy through work, so that's actually been a positive thing. I've been busier than I have been in a long time, but that's good because it kind of takes my mind off the pain of waiting a little bit. So I would say that while I'm dealing with some anxiety and some self-doubt, I'm definitely in a pretty good mood. I'm ready to get started and excited to meet everybody and find what I'm supposed to find on the AT. What I've really been thinking about a lot though over the past couple of weeks is mental and emotional health on the AT. So what happens, to me when I go out there. I think what I heard from one of my friends who had read the book Wild or watched the movie adaptation of it is they were expecting that everybody who hikes the AT is somehow working out some major trauma like Cheryl Strayed in the book or the character in the movie. And for me, that's not the case. I'm not going out there to deal with some big emotional pain or anything. That's really an adventure for me. So I think that is good because I'm not anticipating dredging up any horrible memories and needing to work through those or dealing with any major trauma. I'm fortunate in that I don't have anything like that really in my life. So happy to report that I don't think I'm going to be in a bad emotional state while on the Appalachian Trail. But everybody gets down now and again. And I think the strain of doing a sustained through hike is probably gonna show itself in some way at some point. So there are a couple of things that I've really been thinking about in terms of if I get into sort of a blue mood, or if I have the mean reds, as some people call it, what am I gonna do about that? How am I gonna lift myself out of that funk? The first thing for me, absolutely, is music or podcasts to some extent, but I think that musical choice really sets the tone for my day. So I listen to a very broad variety of genres, anything from hip hop to country to rock and roll, classic stuff, jazz. I really love EDM or any sort of house music. All of that is great. So very, very broad taste in music. And I think that it really depends on my mood what I want to listen to that for any given day. So I think I am, prepared with some of that. I have a lot of good playlists. I've actually started to make a trail sort of motivational playlist that I'll try to link somewhere in the comments, but I would love for people to kind of check that out and maybe add some of your favorite motivational songs to that. So keep me moving on the AT. Once I get sick of music, if that ever happens, which it may or may not, I definitely have a couple of good podcasts that I like to listen to. So just kind of having almost like a buddy in my ears talking to me, teaching me about something, I think that's really gonna help on the days where maybe I'm in a lot of pain or not feeling very motivated. I think those can help to kind of lift me out of that mood and put me into a better mood. So music is going to be one of my major mechanisms for putting myself in a better mood. Another worry that a lot of people have had for me, and that I've had frankly for myself, is loneliness out on the trail. I'm an extremely social person in my normal life. I am not during COVID, of course, but typically outside of COVID, I am surrounded by a really lovely group of family, friends, even coworkers, like have a great group of coworkers that I talk to all the time. So I don't ever feel really disconnected from my fellow humans. On the AT, I think that's gonna be a little bit of a different story. I'm sure that at some point I'm gonna deal with a little bit of like homesickness or loneliness out on the trail. The really good news about this is that I am hiking with a hiking partner who is one of my very good friends. His name is Sam. I'm sure he'll pop into this channel at some point. So I'm really super excited to spend 6 months with my friend Sam. He's a great guy, we get along very well, and I think that we're both ready for this type of an adventure. We've had a lot of conversations about, okay, like what if you don't want to talk all day, every day? What if you do want to talk all day, every day? What are we going to end up talking about for 6 months? So I think we are starting to kind of nail down a good give and take of like, okay, sometimes we'll hike together and sometimes we won't hike together. And I think we're both very flexible people. So we'll see how this plays out on the trail. But I think from a homesickness perspective, because I'm gonna have one of my really good friends hike with me, that will be alleviated a little bit. The other thing about the AT is that because of the time that Sam and I are starting the trail, we're probably gonna be in either early to peak bubble time. So what that means is that there are gonna be a ton of other people around. Through hikers, we're getting into like the spring now, so certainly like day hikers, weekend warriors, anybody like that, people are gonna be around. So I don't actually think I'm gonna have the opportunity to get too like lonely. So I think that's gonna be a very good thing. I'm really looking forward to that aspect, the social aspect of the Appalachian Trail. So I'll meet everyone out there. A major concern I have about my sort of like emotional state on the AT is the anticipated amount of pain and struggling that I'm going to go through. So I realize that people say, you know, pain is inevitable, but suffering is an option. And I do buy into that to some extent. But I'm not a very fit person. A part of the reason I'm going on the AT is to get a little bit more fit. So because of this, I know that I am going to have a lot of pain in the beginning, especially, you know, going up and down mountains all day, every day is going to come with some, hopefully not injuries, but some serious struggling for me personally. So I'm a little bit nervous about that. And that's one of the reasons I'm doubting myself. I realize it's my body like trying to keep me in the status quo and my brain trying to keep me down, but I'm really working to overcome that right now, and I'm going on the trail to overcome that instinct of mine to just kind of couch potato and not do a lot and like, you know, exercise whenever I can, but not like truly pay attention to my body and invest in my own physical health. So the pain, suffering thing I am really nervous about. I haven't really come up with or thought of a good plan to deal with this, aside from just having a lot of ibuprofen or vitamin I on deck for myself, like eating it with breakfast in anticipation of being in a lot of pain. So I can certainly do that. I did get my wilderness first aid certification, so if anything really goes wrong, like from an injury perspective, hopefully I'll be able to at least help in that situation, help myself. I don't think I'm gonna get into something like that. It's more of, you know, worrying about my asthma, worrying about my knees, like I have a bad knee, like what am I gonna do there? I think that's something that I can really only address in the moment, right? Because you can't anticipate that. So that's gonna be something that is probably gonna weigh a little bit on me mentally, at least in the beginning. Even if it doesn't happen, the anticipation of it happening, I think is going to be interesting for me. If anybody out there has done a thru hike, or especially has done a thru hike as a bigger person or a less fit person, I would absolutely love to hear some of the ways that you coped with this during your thru hike. I am also super afraid of snakes. I know that snakes are not like the biggest piece of the AT. There are other long trails that have more prevalence of snakes, but I've definitely heard some podcasts where people either see snakes on the trail or they wake up and like there's a snake outside their tent. I cannot be held accountable for my reaction in that situation. If a snake rocks up to my tent in the middle of the night and I like step on it when it comes out, I'm sorry, fellow hikers, I will probably wake you up with my screaming. I am deathly afraid of them. Even if they're like little baby itty bitty, I don't care. They're creepy and they move really fast and I don't like it. So I'm trying to remind myself that it's not like I'm going into the desert where I'm gonna see like a million rattlesnakes a day or something like that. I realize it's not as big of a concern. And I hope that I'll see them from pretty far away so that I can navigate around them and get away from them without having to disturb anything. But that's a fear of mine. A lot of people ask me about bears, if I'm afraid of bears. I don't think I'm super afraid of bears. I don't believe they're as prevalent on the AT as they are on some other trails like the PCT. Like there's no grizzlies or anything. So while it pays to be educated about bear safety, and while I feel like I've read a good amount about what to do if I do see a bear, it's not top of mind for me. So for everybody at home, like mom, don't worry so much about the bears. I'm sure that the bears and I can steer clear of each other. The last thing I want to talk about actually is mental and emotional health after the trail. So what happens if and when I complete the Appalachian Trail thru hike? I think I've read a lot about this from previous hikers and seen it on YouTube and things like that. Are people going through some post-trail depression? And I think that's probably going to end up happening to me whether or not I finish the trail. If I do finish, it will be better because I will have finished and I'll feel good about myself. If I don't finish, I know that I'm gonna be really down on myself and that will be really hard. So here's to finishing. I don't really know how I'm gonna deal with this. I have dealt with a little bit of depression in my life, not a lot, but just, you know, what I feel like is normal for people. Everybody gets into kind of a cloudy sky in their mind every now and again. But I think it's gonna be hard to transition from, you know, the freedom of the trail back into normal life. I'm also a little bit worried. I just recently found out that the job situation is a little bit different than I had hoped for, but it's totally still okay. I do have to actually resign from my job, and then I will be able to, you know, be eligible for rehire. So my company and my management team is all really, really supportive of me doing this, actually, like very supportive. And I'm super grateful to them for having that attitude. I think it's kind of like a legal HR thing that they can't just keep me on and save a spot for me, which is absolutely logical. You know, that's fair enough. But of course, that's an additional layer of concern for when I get back from the trail. Am I gonna get back and like have to look for work right away? Am I gonna have to look for work at all? Or can I just kind of go back to my company depending on what they have open? So that's a part of, you know, normal life that is also anxiety inducing. What's gonna happen with that? How am I gonna make money after I spent all of my money on this Appalachian Trail adventure? So everyone, that's a couple of concerns and thoughts that I've been having about mental and emotional health pre, on, and post trail. Again, I would love for anybody who's done these types of hikes before, or just anybody in general, to put some tips, tricks, comments in the chat below or in the comments below. If anybody has a super cool trail playlist they want me to check out, if anybody has a really good strategy for keeping themselves in a positive mood, I would love to hear any and all of that. Thanks so much for watching. See you again soon.